This is Colin Mockery, and you're listening to Dispatch Radio.
Well, folks, another show, another season has crept upon us here. Bravo's Newlyweds hits the second season, and Kirk and Laura Knight are a power couple part of that show, and we get a great chance to talk to them a little bit about what to expect, what their experiences have been like, and how their lives have changed. Kirk and Laura, how are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
You're doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Oh, we're so blessed, and thanks for fitting us into your schedule, and congratulations. I know Season 2 just cranked up here on... It's great to look forward to another season and give everybody a little bit of an insight first about the show in case they're not really that familiar with it.
Sure. So Newlyweds is this is the second series on Bravo, which follows four couples around from their marriage, their wedding, until their first year anniversary.
And the first season obviously aired and was very successful. And you guys obviously kind of embody, I think what's interesting is two very successful individuals who now have to kind of face the reality of a lot of compromise and a lot of change. And I think that was what the show tried to set out to try to capture a lot of. Is that a pretty fair assessment of the season one?
It definitely is a fair assessment. Merging lives together is more about scheduling and also your dreams and aspirations and where you want to go. So there's a lot always to it.
Laura, what intrigued you the most about doing this show and trying to capture that first year on camera and sharing with the whole world like that?
Well, we thought it would be a really unique experience to be able to capture our first year of marriage, to be able to have our wedding on video and for the world to see, and something that we could possibly share with our future children and grandchildren. There aren't any other reality shows that will follow a couple around for an entire year. So we really had to open up our lives to the film crew and what we were willing to share.
Obviously, you guys survived your first year, and things have gone well, and now we're headed into Season 2. Can you give anybody a snapshot of maybe one or two of the big sort of events or things that are going to happen that people can look forward to in Season 2?
Well, there's a lot coming up, and I think most of it is very intriguing, to say the least. But, there's major purchases. There's talks about whether we're going to have a family, when we're going to start having a family, merging finances together.
You living in the city or moving to the suburbs.
Yeah, there's a lot of
decisions that have to be made.
A lot of the major decisions that really kind of, change the direction of a relationship. So, then there's a few turns and surprises in there that I think most people won't anticipate.
We're talking with Kirk and Laura Knight about Bravo's Newlyweds, a series that is now headed into Season 2. You can jump on board there. We'll link to some of that information so you can get caught up in case you're a little behind. And what's really intriguing about the show is, many times, if we're into, pastors are doing marital counseling. I know there's a lot of marital counseling besides religion even, but the show sort of kind of starts to capture a little bit of like the authenticity of that. We can tell our kids, we can tell newlyweds a little bit about what to expect, but you guys really came from a place where a lot of change had to happen pretty quickly. Do you think that was really captured authentically on camera?
Well, I believe that it was, and I'll tell you one of the reasons why is not only are we filmed, with an entire film crew, but we also have a couple cam. And so the times that the film crew couldn't be there, we recorded certain things that transpired in our lives to be able to capture it as well. And you'll see that footage utilized throughout the season.
Laura, what is it about the first season that you are most kind of like the moment that's like most proud of? You can't wait. Let's say you fast forward 10 years from now, you'll be able to look back and okay, I'm going to take wedding off the table. That's almost like too fair. It's like a softball. I'm going to take wedding off the table. Look back 10 years from now, and you're like, oh, that moment. I'm so glad we captured that moment. And then also, what's like the one you're like, oh man, I sure wish we could delete that out of there.
Well, I think when looking back at the entire season and what what all had happened, all the ups and downs and everything in between, you really get to see the authentic love and relationship that Kirk and I have together and all that we share. It's such a beautiful, beautiful piece of our story. But the audience is really going to have to watch the show to find out everything that happens.
You know, Kirk, a lot of the promo and a lot of the lead up, and they talk a lot about you being this ultimate bachelor and, you know, living this sort of kind of a carefree life in many ways, and a lot of success, and a lot of things go into that. And then, of course, having to make the compromises and the changes that marriage involves and entails. And what has been the one that's been the most difficult for you?
That's easy actually for me. The hardest part of it, or the biggest transition, is realizing I'm not number one. You know, I'm used to being put sort of at center stage and really taken care of. The difference with marriage is that you really have to put your partner in front of you. You're not number one. And if you have two people putting each other as the number one, that's really the basis of where a strong relationship is going to come from. So I think for me, the challenge is understanding I'm not number one anymore. I need to put the relationship before myself.
Laura, how much has he changed? I mean, is he still that overgrown kid and he's just figured out the proper ways to sort of wrangle that in? Or is it, you know, because you don't want him to completely change and become somebody different, right? We still want him to be the Kirk that you fell in love with.
Kirk will always have that childlike sense of curiosity about him and playful nature. That's one of the reasons I love him. But really, to be able to see how Kirk evolves and what happens, you really have to watch the show to find out how it's going to come about.
It's called Newlyweds, folks. It's on Bravo, and you definitely need to check it out. We're headed into season 2, and the show really starts to capture just, you know, from day one, as Laura said, you know, from the wedding going forward, and a lot of different decisions that have to be made, financial, where they're going to move to when they start a family. These are the kind of topics that come up in real life, and this show kind of helps give you a snapshot through the eyes of 4 different couples, and Kirk and Laura Knight are on with us to talk about their experience. And you know, what has been the one thing that, you know, people stop you now? Because obviously, whenever you're on TV in any way, shape, or form, next thing you know, you're in the frozen food section. Someone recognizes you. You got an interesting or a shocking story to kind of share?
Not a real shocking story. It's just as the season has launched, it's interesting to see people's reaction and how excited they are for the show. So it energizes us to see the response that we're getting.
You both are obviously. Go ahead, Laura, please.
Oh, I was just going to say that whenever you're putting yourself out there and you're sharing who you are as an adult, as an individual, as a couple, it's always a little nerve-wracking to hear what your family members have to say. And so my dad always gets a little bit nervous. Am I sharing too much? And is he going to see anything inappropriate on there that he's going to be embarrassed about?
Oh, I'm certain of that. I have the same fears with my own family, and I'm not on the camera day to day, so I can't imagine about the part of it that must go from the other direction. And it's handled very well, and you guys have really put together a great piece of work, and it's fun to see season 2 kind of unravel and unfold now for you. And what can you guys speak to as far as how this has changed your careers? You were both very successful, obviously. Kirk doing real estate investment, internet startup stuff, and Laura, of course, you know, being very, very highly successful in insurance brokerage as well. So what has changed professionally?
Well, for me, the biggest part is the startup for my company, Raz.com, and it's also a mobile app. I've put a lot into being able to launch this, and basically what it is, it's a website and mobile app that allows people to argue about any topic or headline. And really, basically how it works is one person records a video pleading their side of an argument, and it challenges someone else, who in turn records a video with an opposing view. Once each video is recorded, it posts on the site for the public to vote and comment of who's right and who's wrong. And after 3 days, whoever has the most votes is declared the winner. So it's really kind of a platform for everybody to be heard and everybody to be able to decide in an argument. The ultimate question that we've all asked is who's right and who's wrong.
And one of the unique things about us being on the series is that after each episode, you'll see Kirk and I posting a video argument that we have that relates to the show, so the audience can get involved and vote with who they think is right or wrong.
So we razz about what happens on the episode, so everybody gets a behind-the-scenes look into what debates and arguments and controversy we have on the show.
So Lori, you're winning in a landslide. I assume everyone's voting and deciding with you.
I would have thought that I would always win, but surprisingly, sometimes Kirk gets more of the vote.
And that's one of the things that makes the site not only fun, but actually a great resource, because there's a lot of times people are just stuck in their own way or a vision or a thought, and their partner can't get them out of that. And this is interesting because you put it on Raz, and all of a sudden one person receives so many more votes, and it really has you looking at the argument differently, where you can say to yourself, oh, wow, should I have been thinking this? I've probably been pretty stubborn, or, so many people, are agreeing with her or him. So it's not only fun to see it develop, but it's actually like a resource.
It is a little eye-opening, and it's very interesting because obviously there's a lot of pop culture stuff that's done there as well, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it, to have a multimedia sort of debate happening, even though they're not face-to-face. You see this back and forth, point-to-point kind of thing, and it's very interesting to see how people have responded in voting accordingly, and I like that about it. And that is called Razzd.com, Razzd.com. We'll link to that as well, folks, if you're not right at a computer at this moment, or if you're not listening to us online, you're catching it live. So it's been great to catch up with the Newlyweds. Bravo, Newlyweds. We're now headed into season 2. Kirk and Laura Knight. It was just great to get to know you. Great that you were able to spend time with us, and we were able to find out more about the show and about you guys.
It was a great time.
It was our pleasure. Thanks for the time.